Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, December 30th. We've got 2 days left in 2020. This is Nadex Morning Analysis. Before Brian and I talk a little bit about some potential trade setups in the market today, let's do a quick little introduction. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me is Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. And I need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and might not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and done at your own risk. And lastly, this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. This is for your education purposes. What we're actually going to be talking about today a little bit, Brexit we thought was digested entirely into the market, but we've got Boris Johnson out there talking, bringing some strength to the pound, weakness to the dollar. So we'll talk about that. U.S. equities trending sideways, melting up a little bit going into the end of the year. Kind of a little surprise. I'll mention why. But where we are seeing some action, particularly around with some of the stimulus fluctuations in the U.S. is in the commodity markets. So, Brian, let's go ahead and start off with Brexit.
Yeah. So, this is kind of one of the headlines we saw a little earlier this morning. Basically, another from Boris urging the MPs back to sign the historic trade deal. Talking about a new chapter in national history, and the markets have responded like we expected. There's obviously, since the UK opened this morning, with MPs going back to do the vote today on Wednesday. Obviously, the pound dollar increased, and again, there's a couple different factors involved with that. Let me go back, just to kind of look at the 24-hour Pip Change here, because obviously that is very important. You're seeing by far the biggest one here is the pound dollar, up 105 pips in the last 24 hours. Now, this is a combination of a few things, because if we look across and go to the right-hand side, you guys can see that the pound yen is only up about 19 pips, which is nothing. That pair is anywhere from 120 to about 140 pip ATR. So 19 is really nothing. And even the euro pound at 34, again, showing pound strength, but not really saying, hey, listen, this is, everything else across the board is showing one thing, and that is dollar weakness. You're seeing the euro dollar up, Aussie dollar up. Again, when the dollar is in the first position, you're seeing all red across the board. So this pound dollar is kind of a combination of two separate things. Again, great Brexit news. And again, on the other side, we have the dollar weakening with, again, stimulus checks meant, I guess, supposed to be arriving last night into today. I guess checks are starting to be mailed today for the smaller amount, the $600. So again, that is at least a little bit of dollar weakness there. And then again, the equity situation is following because of that as well. So, as far as the pound goes, I'm going to jump in. Again, looking at a lot of the news again, you're seeing a lot of things about the pound is high. Boris is urging people back. Then again, dollar weakness, dollar weakness, dollar weakness. And then again, another headline, England has water lockdowns, to contain this new coronavirus strain. So a lot of news for the pound. And again, that's why we see it being the biggest mover. Now, look over into the chart land. This is an hourly chart. It's a level that we've about a few separate times. And, we mentioned gaps and being high on the extreme range of the curve. Up here around the 136.07, 135.97. We mentioned it yesterday as well. I would say this is probably set up for somewhat of an intraday trade. And again, there are varying factors into this one, which makes it a little bit more challenging in a low volume environment. Normally, when we're in normal trading times, these things tend to go as expected. When you have low volume, you don't have the big players, the money movers that are typically out there. Another thing, particularly with currencies that affects it is, particularly in the holiday season, are people traveling, right? I mean, the currency market doesn't close because people are constantly changing currencies when they're on vacation and traveling. Well, those things aren't happening. So although this is a time that's harder to trade anyway, it's even more difficult to trade the currency market right now because, again, COVID and not traveling. But we've pushed up into a level. And again, this run up here, I'll drop it down to a 30-minute just to make it a little easier to see. Let me put time back on. You can see this movement here started about 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, the UK Open. And we literally drove up in 2.5, 3 hours. Again, positive news. The MPs are going to sign it. There's no last minute, it's not going to happen type situation, right? We've driven back up again. And since that time, we have run into sellers. Price has been pushed down at base a little bit, made another attempt forward. now what we have is the UK trader kind of coming out of the market, and we have the US trader kind of stepping in. And for the next, say, 2-3 hours, there'll be a little bit of a butting head effect back and forth, but not as much as there normally would be. Now, remember, having a weaker currency does benefit your economy, particularly in recovery. So when businesses and central banks look at something like this, the pound dollar, and particularly, the UK central banks, and they look at this and say, oh, great. Right now, it's getting more expensive for U.S. companies to buy things because, again, you'd have to transfer it into pounds. Not necessarily the best thing. So while this is good, and again, it shows positive kind of progress forward for the UK. Again, it is up into levels. It's not the freshest of levels it has hit before, but I wouldn't be surprised if we are all of a sudden start to see a bit of a rollover here, and maybe even a breakdown a bit, break of maybe like 135.90-ish area around there. We could see this come down a bit farther, even back down into, again, maybe as far as the 135-ish area. Probably about 135. Yeah, right around in there would be a decent level. So, just kind of a low volume. Let me do this one. Kind of a low volume way to look at the markets. Again, I keep picking that one. I keep trying to do the other one, and for some reason today,
It's your challenge.
I know, right? But right now, again, what we're not trying to do is put a cap on top of this. We're waiting for some type of a confirmation. There's a number of different ways to do that, but we're looking for a confirmation break to the downside. It may continue to go higher, and again, if we didn't have stimulus checks hitting the market today as a reminder saying, hey, weak dollar, this would be prime for a rollover. The big question is that $600 and the U.S. trader going to say, hey, listen, we're putting a lot of money, the dollar's weak, or, hey, we should have got 2,000, not 600. I guess the dollar's not as weak as we thought it was. So there's still some factors out there involved. On a purely technical setup, I would be kind of switching my focus, looking for more of a bearish setup, a reversal of some sorts. But again, we need that confirmation that, okay, it's gone as far as it can and it's rolling.
Yeah. So actually, let's just take a look at that. I mean, for a trade setup for the day, and plus it's that 136 levels also tends to be, again, it's one of those double zero emotional levels, and we're seeing it's just trying to poke a little higher, just like you mentioned. How could someone potentially play this? You watch it and you look, and if it starts rolling over, and you get some type of confirmation and you want to try to take a short, there's some knockouts that are in here that could be interesting. This is, we've gotten, and expires tomorrow because the knockouts all go for a week, and tomorrow is the end of the week. How else could someone do this? Let's actually just take a look quickly over at the call spreads, and let's take a look at the pound dollar. And actually, I think I'm just going to look at the daily one. Let's just take a look at the daily ones here. Yeah, there's actually some call spreads where you could, and here you're not knocked out of the trade if it continues to drift higher. With call spreads, you don't have to worry about potentially getting knocked out. This goes for the next through the day, so it's got another 5-6 hours to go. But there's a way, if you get a confirmation you're looking for a potential short, there's some call spreads in here where you could take a short position, not get knocked out if it goes through that upper boundary, give yourself some time to be right if it does roll over through the end of the day. So definitely something to be looking at. We mentioned
And actually, Todd, can you switch back to my screen real quick? I just want to point something out as well. And I'll actually, I don't know if you can post this or I can post it in chat also. Again, I talk about the short duration binaries in an environment where we have a lot of sideways movement and there's specific times of day when we are seeing movement. Again, if you guys don't know how to get to this, it's pretty easy. Go to Nadex, go to products, go to markets, and then the easiest way to see the contract specification is to go into different markets. If you see specifications, particularly for something like this, again, I always talk about these smaller kind of duration binaries. Here's the 2 hours. And again, this is what I'm talking about, that strike width being 10 pips. And you may say, well, I don't understand currencies that much. Okay, what do you mean 10 pips? Well, what I'm talking about is if the strike width is 10 pips, right? Look at the move that occurred. And again, from here, right here is the UK Open, 3 o'clock in the morning. Right here, let's see, right there is where the current price is 2 hours later. That is an entire move of about 46 pips. That is four strike prices that it jumped across inside of those 2 hour binaries. So again, a lot of this kind of low market movement is figuring out what is the ideal time to be able to trade this, and then take advantage of it on those smaller time frames. I know everybody says I'm not going to trade the European Open, but it's just an example. This is obviously the most movement in the pound, and even in fact the euro dollar tends to be at the UK Open. But I mean, if you could jump in there and take advantage of something that moves four strike prices for really what kind of news? Nothing. Just we're meeting today to sign something that we already agreed upon weeks ago. This is kind of how you take advantage of these kind of small moves. And again, that's why I focus a lot on my news trading, because I can use these smaller duration binaries with smaller strike differentials, smaller strike widths to be able to take advantage of movement. But I don't need 800 pips to the downside or anything like that. So again, that's been great to play with the pound, and I just wanted to kind of share that with the group.
Yeah, actually, that's actually a fantastic point, particularly when you've got that many choices in strikes. Some of those out of the money strikes, up above. If it's going higher, the probabilities at that moment in time they're going to be lower. You're going to be able to lever up a little bit, because in the end those got to go to 0 or 100, and if it blows through all four of those went to 100 on the binaries.
Right. I mean, things like this too. I mean, obviously the pound is 10. You may say, hey, why? Well, obviously Brexit. But things like the euro, the strike differential in the 2 hours is only 4. It's very, very tiny. It's 4. Which happens to be the same as the 5 minute during its peak hour. So again, 2 hours are great things, and a lot of people don't look at those contracts. And like I said, with the environment that we're in right now, where everything is very bursty, there's a lot of things you can take advantage of.
No, that is absolutely fantastic. And it's an excellent point. And in fact, I just want to because we're talking about it, and I want to show people what we're talking about. We're going to go into the binaries. We're going to go into the let's look at the pound dollar and
hit refresh. It should be a 9 to 11 over there.
Yeah, right. And by the way, I like how we've now got that, because one's settled. So we've got we do have these, and this is what Brian's talking about, where you're going to have some more choices, closer strikes in the different time frames. So you'll have more choices to choose from than, let's say, you go out to a weekly contract and you're going to see the strikes much further apart. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a great way to play binary options. I mean, that's really the fact that you've got these additional choices. Wait, I'm not
spreads, by the way.
I'm in call spreads. You know what?
I was gonna say, yeah.
I can't believe I did that.
Because you picked on me. I was like, yeah, there should be 19 different number of contracts up there. So I'm like, you have 3. I'm like, those aren't the right ones.
Yeah. Can you believe I clicked on something else? There we go. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's euro dollar, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go down to now it's my turn.
It's about teaching, right? It's about
fair
teaching.
Is fair. Fair is fair. I'll take my lumps. And there we go.
And you can see that they're
wanted
torn apart.
To see.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see. Thank you.
And you can see how close they are and how fast things kind of jump through those, particularly from this morning. I mean, you can see, every one of those red and blue boxes is a different one. You could, I would say drop it down to like a 5 minute. You'll be able to see them a little bit better. Yeah, there you go. And then you guys can see, look at 3 o'clock in the morning, right in the middle of Todd's screen. You can see the 3 o'clock mark. Yeah, there's 1 minute, but you can see how fast these things are kind of overtaken.
Yeah, and but you can see how you've got, and there we go. Now you can see all the variety of choices you have, and again with binaries, these are all going to either, in the end, they're going to go to 0 or 100 each one of these. So when it's going through multiple levels, there's different ways for you to play that and take advantage of those moves.
Yeah, it's about trading smarter is what it comes back to.
So and this is that move that you were just talking about
from the 3 o'clock. Yeah. I mean, you can look at the bottom. You can see the time. You can't see the 3 right now, but you can see how many binaries it blew through in that time frame.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it went right through them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. I really appreciate that. I think that's a great call out. I was thinking I know we're running along today. Let's do a quick peek at gold, because we are seeing a potential opportunity, gold with a sideways market. But here, let me I think you've
Yeah,
got.
it's channeling back and forth. This is the 30-minute that we talked about yesterday, and just a real big kind of recap. There's the level that we saw yesterday. Yesterday morning, at this time, we were sitting right around here, and we mentioned, hey, listen, sideways market had a little buyers down here, and you can see it spiked down, spiked up, came right across, and what have we done? We've hit the top again, kind of came back to the bottom. So it's still channeling. Again, the big question today is going to be whether the $600 stimulus, when it hits your account, if you're thinking dollar week, dollar week, dollar week, dollar week. The big question is, where is the inflation aspect with it? But when people see money hit their account, and they're like, oh, the government's just sending money to everybody. Woo! Again, people will tend to think that gold is, that's where we're looking for, longs. But, I have sells, and again, this data is based off ECN. It's not based off the exchange rate, so it's a little bit off. But around that 1886 level, again, you can use the top of this candle if you want. Just know that sellers have stepped in. They've done it a few times now. Again, a quick burst down, another burst down, and we're hitting that level right now. So, even on the 15-minute, it does look more like it's, it has its impulse move up. But if this green candle in the next 14 minutes can't go any higher, again, it would be kind of a rollover effect for me, and I'd be looking for this to come back down to the 18 kind of 70-ish range. So little sideways, but again, channeling, keeping it in that kind of same area, but there's still potential for a little bit of movement.
Yeah, I mean that 1890 level. I mean, and it was kind of funny. We were talking about this earlier, right before we started. We said, "Watch, this thing's going to come up and touch 1890 while we're talking," and it did it exactly did do that, and it's actually starting to roll over a little bit right now. Again, finding that support down around that 1875, 1876 level, and there's binaries that you can play in here. If gold's going to sit here and chop up and down like this in a range in these short periods of time, definitely something to be looking at to give you some trading ideas, which is what we're all about. All right. I know we went a little long. Is there anything else you want to talk a little bit quickly about oil before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I mean, right now, let me pull the chart up real quick. We talked about this yesterday, and we wanted price to come down in base, and you can see it came down a little bit, pulled up again, and now, really, in the last hour, is where all the movement is happening. Oil, they're trying to get it into the correct position. Now, oil release the news has not come out yet. Whenever you typically see data this quick come out, it typically means that it's been leaked. Somebody knows what the information is. I would hate to say that never happens, but unfortunately, there's times where you see this thing move very, very quickly for absolutely no reason. And then it's like, wait, that just happened to match up to what the news was saying. Nothing there's no news that has just been released. Nobody's been attacked. I don't see. They didn't find, the Bermuda Triangle did not find 10 tankers to cause this to drop. What do we come from? 48 down to, so we've dropped, like 80 cents in the last hour. There's nothing more justifying this than kind of getting into a level where it needs to be. They have adjusted the crude oil inventory number a little bit. I'll drag this in so you guys can see it real quick. Right now, they're expecting it to be minus 3 million barrels. Yesterday, I think it was like 1.7 or something like that. So they have adjusted it lower, which, again, may be causing it a bit. But you can see, again, they are not typically too right today. And that comes in at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hour and 20 minutes from right now. It is what it is. It's already started to move. But this is that level we talked about yesterday. That's 47.70, being kind of intermediate kind of play back and forth between the last big push up and then kind of where the top was. Buyers have stepped in a few different times and saved it. It has pushed it very, very deep. So I'd be looking for more of a confirmation play off of it. But we mentioned if it came down and kind of based in this level, we were looking for a push down to this 47.12 area to 47 or 46.90. And again, it's making a big push down. This is a very emotional response. You can see there's not many times in here where, you have these straight down moves, but it's going to need something a little bit bigger. So again, coming into a level right now, we have an hour before the news release. What I would do is I would check in about 45 minutes, see if it is stabilized and has started to kind of push back up again. This is a parabolic move. There could absolutely be a bit of a retracement off the news in something along these lines. And again, your 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio puts you right before the start of this. So again, it is a viable long. We got to see a stabilization, maybe a little bit of a bounce before news, and then again, pull back and explode.
Perfect. It's definitely something to be looking at for the inventory report. Or
again, that's at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. So an hour and 10 minutes.
Perfect. Awesome. I know we went a little long today, but if you got any questions for Nadex, please email us customerservice@nadex.com. You can also email Brian support@keeptradingsimple.com. With that, want to thank you for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow morning for the last day of the year, and want to wish everyone good luck in the markets. We'll catch you tomorrow, everyone.